So many of us talk about growing a business, but we never really talk about the behind the scenes or how do we really get there. Follow along with me on this journey as we work together to figure this out. Hey y'all, welcome to my mini series. In this series, we are going to be doing some recorded discussions with business owners. And I'm going to be asking them all the questions, things that we really want to know, like why do you do what you do? Why are you passionate? What keeps you up at night? And of course, I'm going to be asking them to give us some more gems and giving us advice about things they wish they knew that they know now. So pick up your pen and pencil, subscribe, share this video with others because we're on this journey together and you definitely don't want to be left behind. Hey, Olivia, it is so good to have you here with us today. For those who have not yet met Olivia, this is Olivia Fitchett, the most wonderful individual you'll ever meet in your life. And for those who do not know, Olivia, would you please just give us an overview of who you are, what you
Yeah,
do, all the great things?
I would be so happy to. And Destiny, thank you again. So I was just saying this to her a second ago off air. But thank you so much again for having me and just thinking about me. Destiny and I have been friends for a while now, and it's just cool to have such an inspiring person in my corner. And I just looked up to you a lot in the path that you're on. So, yes, me. I am from the Louisville, Kentucky area. Just a little bit north into Indiana. I've lived there my whole life. I went to Indiana University Southeast, and there I graduated with a degree in psychology. Really, and we probably get to this a little bit later, Destiny, but really the reason that I chose psychology, I'm very tangential too, so like this is my bio. So the reason I chose that is because I wanted to figure out what's going on in my mind. And I want to know how other people's minds work and why we do things and
Yes.
how we communicate and why that matters and how we can help people. And so I dealt with a lot of anxiety as a kid. I still deal with a lot of anxiety. I have a couple of different disorders and those sorts of things that I'm constantly wanting to understand the human brain. So we started off there. I graduated in 2016 from Indiana University Southeast as a psychology major. Then I moved on through actually worked at the White House for a stint. That was very fun. And so mixing that kind of public service experience with that psychology was so magical for me that just made me fall in love, like how with the idea of how can I be of service to people with using the mind. So if you're following me along, that's sort of how I began learning what my niche, my passion really was. And so after that, I worked for Sigma Kappa sorority, an organization that Destiny's very familiar with as well. And I worked as a traveling consultant for a few years, doing leadership training and having coaching conversations and meetings. The plane landed. I was like, get me a 9 to 5 because I was traveling a lot. So I worked at my church for a while as an administrative assistant, going, what do I do with all of these wonderful experiences that I've had, and where do I want to go from here? So I dipped my toe into marketing after that. I've been a lot of places, Destiny. I
Yeah.
dipped my toe into marketing after that. And that wasn't a fit for me, something I wasn't very passionate about. And I recognized when I'm putting all of these past experiences together, the one thing that rang true for me is I love helping people get from point A to point B. And however I want to design my career, I want that to be the focus of it. So then I took a look at what are my strengths and what am I passionate about, and we ended up with I've always just had a knack for public speaking, and so it was something I've always loved doing and what I want to do more of. And so I invested in that. And then I also went to professional coaching school at IPEC, and Destiny also knows about IPEC and is doing that too. So I got a professional coaching certification, started my own company in 2020, and have been really helping people ever since. That was part-time for a few years, and then I got married, and dual income is a great thing, and so I went full-time at that point. And to be honest, Destiny, as I've really navigated being an entrepreneur and putting these experiences together and my passions together, the the journeys looked kind of like this. It's not been like I'm going to be a speaker and this is what's going to happen and then I'm going to make, six figures and then that's
Yeah.
not been how it is. And so I started out focusing around one area and I ended up doing this. And so right now, without saying where I've been, right now where my real heart and my real passion is in the coaching sphere is helping people get on stage and feel confident in front of people. So I am a speaker coach right now. That is something I'm very passionate about helping people unlock that confidence. And
Yeah.
so I love being on stage. I do my own keynotes. I love speaking. But really how that comes out in helping people right now in this season, Destiny, is helping people feel confident in using their own voice. So whether that's on stage or presentations, giving a slideshow presentation in front of your crew, whether it's just standing up and speaking to a boardroom, just having people have that confidence to be able to do it and do it their way.
Yeah.
So that's a whole long road to kind of get to where we are now. But that's a little bit about me and how I got where I'm at. So, if you ask me in 5 years, it'll look different.
Yeah. No, thank you so much for sharing that because honestly, Olivia, I don't know if you realize this, but you dropped so many good gems
Mm,
along your route of what you were just telling us. So like
yeah,
some things to call out is like you did not start off knowing this is what you wanted to be,
totally. Yeah.
but you used the skills that you gained along the way and you
Mm,
kept them, right. Like you didn't say, oh, well, I don't want to do psychology and what someone says a psychologist is supposed to do,
that's
right?
it. That's it.
You made your own path, right? And
Yeah.
so I just want to make a call of that. It's like you took that transferable skill, you applied it to an area of your interest, then you tried something, and then you said, okay, well, what did I
Yeah.
learn from this experience? Let's go build onto another experience.
Yeah.
And I think what you're telling us is the truth.
And like, how often do we get stuck there,
Yes.
Destiny? I bet people are going to be listening to this and they're going, maybe some of our, younger listeners and that sort of thing. They're going, okay, I have a psychology major too. In the psychology thing, you graduate and then you go to get your master's and then you go and you get your PhD and then you have to talk to these types of clients. And what if I get there and I don't want to be a therapist? Or what if that's not what it's about. And I think that's what you're saying too.
Yeah.
It's how do I take what I'm learning
Mm-hmm.
and what's lighting me up and
Yes.
create an experience. And maybe that is therapy. Maybe that is
Yeah.
psychiatry. Like maybe that does look like that very, linear. And I wish mine did, to be
Yes.
honest. But I think like don't limit yourself.
Exactly.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. We can't put ourselves in a box, and we seem to
Oh,
do that, right? And
uh,
it's normal, and I don't want to make it a gender thing, but it truly is. As women, we do it even more, right? It's like
yeah.
we see somebody or we don't see somebody, so we don't really know how to get there. And
Yes.
so it's like, well, what do I do? How do I do it? And so it's like
Yeah.
you have to be willing to fail because no
Uh,
one else has done it.
And that doesn't mean failing's fun. Man, I learned that rule that all the time. Like
Yeah.
you just failing is a lifestyle. I mean, listen, and I don't if people don't listen like I'm never hiring her. But seriously,
No.
failing failing has taught it for me so much about what is not going to work for me, and that
Yes.
is almost more important because we're talking about joy, we're talking about
Yes.
happiness, we're talking about you and I, I know we're both believers, we're talking about doing what God wants for us and
Yes.
how we're going to stay in step with him. A lot of that comes from I'm going to dip my toe here, and
Hmm.
that's not really for me. And so now we course correct.
Yes.
We have to look. We don't have to, drown in a pint of ice cream. There's a time for that,
Yeah.
mess up and whatever.
It's
But
okay though.
that's part of it. So
Yeah.
yeah, you can tell I just go off. So you just gonna have to cut me off.
No, because this is great. I'm honestly making sure I have the notes. And it's the great thing because you said everything I was going to ask you in just one bio. And so it actually works great because the purpose of this discussion, right, is to just prepare individuals who are trying to take this journey and
Yeah.
don't know where to begin. Because so many of the times we follow people who have been in this business for 20, 40 years and they're like, it's so easy. And I'm like, I think you forget what it was like when you first started, right? You
Yeah.
you forget all the trials and errors that you went through, the
Mhm.
failures that you had to go through, and you're like, oh, it's
Yeah.
just easy, do this and do that. And it's like, no, let's really simplify it and let's tell our journey on how we got there. And so
Yeah.
I really want to hear your journey because you're highlighting like where you came from. And also
Yeah.
you gave a little bit into why you do what you do. And like you found your passion through
Mhm.
psychology.
Yeah.
And then you ended up to be a public speaker. And I'm sure if you look back where you were then, you never dreamed of being a public
Oh,
speaker.
oh my gosh, I was just wanting to do sorority things. Like, I
Yeah.
didn't care about I literally didn't care about my major. Like, I was interested in psychology, but, like, you just never know, what those seeds that are being planted are gonna lead to, later, but I was just like a lot of our, the listeners, at any point where it's like, I'm just I'm going to college because that's what I am supposed to do, and I will find a major because that's what I should do, and we're
Mhm.
just gonna figure it out after.
Yeah.
And let me just say this real quick. Um, I've been in this like entrepreneurial game of trying to figure this out for a couple years now. I'm not as seasoned as definitely a lot of people, but I'm further along the road than a lot too. And I'll just say this for anybody that's wanting to go out and do something on their own and try something even remotely like what we do. Um, I've not arrived.
Yeah.
Like, I am so far from arriving, it's ridiculous. Like, and you have to be okay with, in my experience, I think there are
Mhm.
people that are gonna nail it the first time, and that's, I'm not gonna speak for everybody,
Yeah.
but, like, if you can't go into this thinking that everything is set in stone and written in blood. Like, entrepreneurship, and and really just, your niche too, it's about being adaptable and being
Yeah.
flexible because you're going to change so many times. And the person that I am right now is not going to be the person I am in a year. So I think that was one thing. You didn't ask me this question, but I think that's one thing that, like, I didn't expect.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to
Just
choose and
yeah.
be like done and like do it. But you have to be able to think on your toes and be sensitive to wherever you're feeling led,
Mhm.
all the time.
So I have a question then, and I think this is where a lot of people have a balance of like how structured should I be? Like you say, be flexible, but
Yeah,
like, don't I need a business plan? So like,
yeah,
what would
yeah,
you tell
yeah.
that person? Like, okay, but what about my 5-year plan? Like, what about my goals? How do you set them to be realistic?
Yeah, that's a great one. That's a great one. And I will answer that question, but before I do, I will say that that is something that I'm learning all the time.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. Like, yes, have a vision. Yes, have a goal. You can't start without it.
Yeah.
Like, you have to do something. My mentor always says, and I've adopted this too, is the cure for I'm gonna butcher it. I'm trying to remember it word for word. But like, the cure for not doing anything, the cure
Hmm.
for overthinking, ruminating, having to get it right, that sort of thing we're talking about,
Yeah.
is action. And the action does not have to be right. Like it, because there is no right. You
Yeah.
know? It's just action. It's something. Let me give you an example. I promise I'm going to swing around for this question, but right now I'm writing a sermon. Today, that's what I'm doing. I do. For those that don't know me, I run my own speaking and coaching business. A part, maybe I part of it, I would say, but I mainly just do it for fun. Is I also preach and speak at my church, and so I'm writing a sermon right now, and I looked over at my husband and I just said, I just need to write something. Like, I need to write something because that gives me something to work off of.
Yeah.
Because in my head, I'm like, I can go here, I can go here, I can go here. And that's how we can get with our business plan.
Yeah.
I can do this, I can do this, I can do that. It doesn't matter if there's no foundation. So even if you wipe the whole foundation, and even if you start the whole foundation over again, at least you have a foundation. So that's what I would say for somebody. Get those big pieces decided. Yes, I want to speak.
Mm.
Yes, I want to coach people. Yes, I want to maybe you want to coach in like the mental health space or that sort of thing. Get those big ideas solid, not moving them.
Yeah.
Uh, never say never, but for the most part, not willing to move on
Yeah.
them and not willing to sacrifice on them. The rest is kind of like right here in this space. Who do I want to be the expert of? Like
Mm.
what do I want people to come to me for? And do I have, this is the best part, in my journey, and do I have the skill set and passion to be able to deliver that?
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
that's why I'm training speakers right now.
Yeah.
Not because I wasn't qualified to do whatever. Like I started off life coaching. Oh my gosh, I love it. I still take life coaching clients. I can't get enough of it. I love it. But one skill set I didn't really realize that I had was actually teaching people to speak. I could speak,
Yeah.
but somebody asked me for help on a keynote one time. And just I was like, sure, let's meet for coffee. And I said, and they were like, oh, I'm connecting the pieces. And it's not because it's all I'm so good at it. It's that I could translate our coaching training
Yeah.
to creating keynotes and helping people actually, tell their story. And so that's a skill I had I didn't know until I started to discover it. So now I'm shifting a little bit. The
Yeah.
business model is changing right now because of
Hmm.
information I've gained.
Yeah.
So that's what I would say for that. I hope that's helpful. I'm
Yeah.
still figuring it out though.
And I think honestly, the two things you first finishing off with you're still figuring out, I think it's
Yeah.
very helpful. And you
Yeah.
had mentioned like you haven't arrived, but you showed up and you keep
Yeah.
continuously show up. Every day you're showing up for yourself
That's
and for
it.
your dreams are,
That's it.
right? And it goes back to taking action. And
Yeah.
I feel like that's a gem that anybody can take away. And also just being honest about where you
Yeah.
are, right? And I think sometimes we don't always get that feel of everyone being honest. It's easier to say we're doing great, and
I
it's
know.
like, but you gotta know what's happening behind the scenes.
Yeah.
I was watching a video on social media, and a woman was talking about like everyone looks at me, and she's a Christian woman. She's like, and they see all this work
Yeah.
on the screen, right? But she's like, but you don't know how behind the scenes how hard I'm being pressed in the oil. And so she like compared it into like, but the point of the story is that you never know what's happening behind the scene and all the work that goes into it. And the
Oh,
honesty of like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I got to pivot this way. Okay, I got to pivot this way. I thought
yeah.
this was my area of focus, but now I learned something new about myself. Let me go move on to this way.
And this wasn't, here's something else, Destiny, I would add to that. Just because I switched or augmented the plan doesn't mean this was wrong.
Yeah,
Okay? Like it doesn't. And so anybody that's listening that's like, I don't know if I'm really feeling that anymore. Um that doesn't mean you made a mistake earlier, because
mm,
that's where I think a lot of people get tied up, and I speak for myself on that too. Like that doesn't mean that you made a mistake. It means you went somewhere, you learned something, and now we're doing, Destiny 2.0, and
yeah,
and now you have the skill set.
yes,
Do you know how useful it is to have life coach experience whenever you're coaching people
yes,
about telling their story on stage?
yeah, yeah,
I couldn't do it without that.
no,
So, whether you're a believer or not, but for me, it's God is gonna work all of that stuff in for good. And you see it and you go, oh, that makes sense now. So I think us as millennials, we've learned to just go black and white, good and bad, right and wrong. You can't be doing that.
you can't. And it's so funny how we're all in a world where we're like, yes, we accept people, we love people for who they are, but it's like we don't accept ourselves and love ourselves for who we are in our journeys on life.
Oh yeah.
So that's
Mhm.
my challenge for people is to just be okay with it not being all figured out. Just sometimes
Yeah.
you gotta throw spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks.
And people smell it out. I teach this to speakers all the time too. If you're not being authentic, people can smell it out now.
Yeah.
Maybe they couldn't 50 years ago. The,
Hmm.
the way we, especially our generation coming up into the leadership and the workforce and stuff now, don't even get me started on
Yeah.
the generations behind us that are even more
Aware.
aware of this stuff.
Yeah.
You can't fake it out anymore.
No.
That's why I'm being really honest with you, is because I've tried that. I'm gonna be really honest right now. I tried to make it look like I had it together. I
Mm.
tried that. I tried it, and it just didn't work for me.
Yeah.
And so, in the most helpful, like, the thing that's helped me the most is not advice giving, is not um, that sort of thing. I mean, all that stuff is good. What has helped me in my journey the most is, and I'm talking about just like business wise,
Mhm.
is whenever somebody a little further down the road says, "Me too."
Mm. Yeah.
When somebody says, "Oh, I'm struggling with sales." Oh, same. And I'm like,
Yeah.
"What? You struggle?" Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
like, so I try to be super open and honest with people so they feel what I felt,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, we appreciate it. And speaking of that, can you tell people how if they want to connect with you or if they want to work with you, how can they do that? And what are you looking for in a
Yeah.
client and what can you provide them?
Yeah, what a question too. Yeah, so the easy answer about how to get a hold of me, how to talk with me at all, LinkedIn. I like LinkedIn. I used to be a hater. It used to be, like stuffy almost. I love LinkedIn now. So if you can get on LinkedIn and message me. I'm on social media, like Instagram too. Instagram is just personal stuff. I've had to make a division there because I tried to put all of everything together when working. I would love to connect with you on Instagram too. That's just Olivia.Fitchett. That's Instagram. And then LinkedIn's just, Olivia Fitchett, just my name. Destiny's connected with me. So if you're connected with Destiny, you can find me. And I mean, I'm on Facebook. I'm not on there very much, but I am on Facebook if you want to find me there. Um, not on TikTok. Tried to do it, couldn't. It became super addictive. I deleted it. Can't handle it. But the folks that I love working with, um, they're people that if you want to feel confident on stages, if you want to be authentic in front of people, if you get on stage or if you get in front of people in a presentation, um, and you can kind of feel like you have to be someone else in order to be accepted, maybe you get nervous. Maybe you don't know how to create your content to make it compelling. Maybe you're in sales and everything you pitch is not going through and you don't know why, and you're having to sell to people in a presentation. If you're trying to write your first keynote, I worked with somebody um, who had a Q&A and he'd never held a microphone before, and he was like, I want to do well at this Q&A, this panel. If you are in a spot where it just makes you nervous to get up in front of people for any reason, or you want to improve in it, those are the folks that I'm always like really excited to work with. I'm so excited to do all of those things. Um, I'm still doing life coaching too. I love life coaching, leadership coaching. It's not the main thrust of my projects this year, but I love doing that. And then for keynotes, if you belong to a group that brings in folks, has a conference, has connections to people who want talks around belonging, around culture, that I would love to have a conversation if that would make sense with your group. So I've got a keynote on why we neurologically need connection and belonging in our workplaces, and why retention goes way down the drain when we don't have it.
Yeah.
We talk about that. And then I've got another one that's all about how our thoughts lead everything. How you can predict this is going to sound big and ridiculous, and it's true. You can predict your life if you just listen to your thought life.
Mm.
You can predict what you do. You can predict how you're going to feel. And so I talk about how that connects to us at work, especially those in leadership. And so those are two keynotes that I do, and I'm working on one about confident communication right now. So stay tuned. But those are the ways, and who I love to be in contact with. But I love it. If you just want to say hi and be buddies, I'm there for that.
Yeah. No, thanks for sharing that, Olivia. That is a lot of great things. I'm
Yeah.
excited for this last keynote that you have.
Yeah.
And this is actually going to be a surprise for Olivia because I didn't tell her this. So I'm going to end this podcast in a way, and it's called Flowers. This is the segment. I don't want to call it a podcast, a series, sorry. And it's called Flowers. And I am a strong believer of you have to give people their flowers while they're alive.
Oh, yeah.
So this is why I smiled when you were telling me things about me at the beginning, because I wanted to end telling you how much I admire you and I adore you and I appreciate you. Not just taking the time out to do this series with me, but you continuously show up for a lot of people.
Mm.
And the impact that you make in this world is larger than you probably know.
Mm.
But the way you impact one person's life impacts another person's life. So I really just want to say thank you for being you and for
Oh,
being
thanks.
authentic, as people got to hear. So, like, that's why I wait to the end, because I don't want to give people their flowers before they can just show out and show up for themselves. But yeah, thank you for all the great things you do. And I truly appreciate it. And you are one of the women who fills in the gaps for others. So
Thank you
yeah.
so much. I appreciate, and I'm going to borrow that too, because I think that's something we all need to do better job at, for each other, is just speaking life into people.
Yeah.
Especially in just the times we're living in all the time, it feels like all you're hearing is bad news,
Yeah.
and you know, having our heads dipped in our phones and just not being able to come out of it. So I appreciate that, like, real connection that you make with people doing that. So, and I think the same about you. I'll email your flowers.
Thanks. I appreciate it. Thanks. Thanks so much, Olivia. Again, it's been great spending time with you. And y'all, I hope you got to enjoy this. Keep your notepads coming, because this is not going to be the last video we do. And we have so many other great things coming
It'd be
down.
great. Yeah,
Yeah.
thanks, Destiny.
Thanks.